Okay. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Again, my name is Victoria Bettis. I'm an account coordinator here at CMS Ochoa. I was here for the last presentation, and now we're going to have Jennifer join us as well.
Hi guys, Jennifer Flores. I'm the account manager with CMS Ochoa. Sorry I wasn't on the last one. I had another event to attend, but we are going to go ahead and get started. Actually, we'll give y'all 2 more minutes to come on, and then we'll go ahead and get started. First, we're going to start with the recap of our last presentation, and then we'll get started on this month's, which is media alerts and social media photography.
So we're going to let y'all kind of get more people join into the webinar, and we're going to get set on our end pulling over presentations. So just sit tight, and we will start in about 1 to 2 minutes or so. Okay. Okay, so we have about 3 viewers tuned in, and we're going to go ahead and get started with our first slideshow. Again, if you have questions, you can use the chat box, which is to the right on your YouTube page right now that you're seeing. So feel free to add in any questions that you have while we're going through the presentation, and then we're going to address those questions as soon as we're done with all of our presentation today. For those of you, if you don't have an account set up on YouTube, again, I think Jennifer sent out an email, but you can go ahead and send us your questions by email, and then we will either address those either today in the presentation, or if we don't get a chance to get to them, then we will address those personally to your email. And you can send those questions to jenny@cmsochoa.com or to victoriap@cmsochoa.com. So we are going to go ahead and get started with our presentation right now. I'm going to go ahead and make this full screen. All right, so the first one we're going to do is, we're going to do our webinar series 2 recap. So the last webinar that we did was with myself and Tanya. It was how to write great press releases plus social media posts. So what we did was we just put together some frequently asked questions that we received from those who were at our last webinar that they either sent us or that they asked during the webinar. And we want to address these because we felt these were the most important And we also thought these were something that everyone should know whenever you're setting up social media. So we didn't really have any for press releases, but for social media, one question that we had, which was really good, was who should be in charge of social media at my school, as well as if we're able to set up accounts. So to address that, no, we are not able to set up these accounts for you. This is something that you have to do on your own. However, in the last presentation, we did walk everyone through how to set up accounts for Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And that presentation particularly is available still on YouTube on our account, or we can also send you our presentation, the actual slideshow, on our Dropbox account that you can find there. I'm sorry? Okay. It's in the Dropbox folder that we have shared with everyone. But if you don't have that link to our Dropbox folder, we can send it to you. If you go ahead and leave a question or that comment in the chat box, and we will send it to you. But again, so we're not able to set up these accounts for you. Social media managers, they do vary from school to school. So from people that I've met so far that do run social media accounts at the different Catholic schools, it really does vary. Some have their principal run the account. Some have an administrator run the account. I've also known of devoted parents that have the time and they're able to run social media accounts for the school. They are in charge and they set up the login and they post for every event. But I think the most important thing that we realize is that person realizes that they have to have the dedicated time to monitor these accounts. They can't just be set up and left vacant where someone is not responding to comments or posting on them frequently, because that's how you gain a large audience on your social media account. That's because you're aware of it and you're constantly commenting and posting and just make your audience aware that you are there and that you are an active user on the account. So if you have any questions about that, you can ask us in the chat box again, but that is our answer for that particular question. The next one is, why do I need to use additional tools for social media? So the tools that we suggested, they're not required. They are just recommended. They varied from scheduling tools to hashtag finder. So for example, Buffer was one and Hootsuite was one. They're both social media post schedulers. So you can go in and schedule a post ahead of time. That way it gives you a little bit more free time. That way you're not on social media on the weekend trying to constantly post, to be sure that you post once a day. But again, they're just tools. They're not required, but we just find that they help the person who runs social media. It just helps make their life a little bit easier. And it definitely makes our life a little bit easier when we're able to schedule a post ahead of time. So again, not required, but a recommendation. And then we found that this is the most efficient way to use social media, and they assist you in getting the most out of your accounts. If you have any questions, of course, let us know. The next one is, how do I handle negative comments on social media? This is a really important one because we think that it definitely shows who you are on the account, and it gives your audience kind of the impression that you do care about what they have to say and what they want to say about the school or that particular post. So negative comments will most likely be shared with family and friends. We want to make sure that everyone knows that it's not just for you to see. They put it out there on social media, and so a large audience sees this. So not only do they see the negative comment, but they're also going to see if you choose not to respond or if you choose to respond. So it's important to understand that. So for these comments, we want to make it aware that you have to address them as soon as possible. Responses should be short and concise, but they should always never be non-confrontational. They just need to show that you've read and understand their comment or concern. If they are extremely offensive or crude, or you find that you don't want your audience to see them because they continually post the same comment, or it's just they are not actually pointing out a certain area that they are unhappy about, but they're just being rude or mean, Facebook does give you the ability as the admin of the page to hide the comment. When you hide the comment, it only shows that it's hidden to your audience. So the person who left the rude comment, they will still, on their end, they will still see that their comment is visible. They won't know that their comment was hidden. But on your end, you can see that you choose to hide it, and your audience will not see it as well. So those are just for the comments that you it's just someone who might be trolling, which means that they're just going in and trying to start an argument for no reason. They're not actually bringing up a specific point, but they're just trying to be mean. We would advise that. But for comments where they do have an actual concern about maybe a student or an event, something that they didn't agree with, then they should be responded to. And if you want any other clarification on what those responses should look like, we can give you a walkthrough, but just definitely let us know in the comments if you have more questions. The next one is, do hashtags work, or how do they work, and why do I need to use them? Hashtags are a way to broaden your audience on your social media platform. So if you're using Facebook or Instagram and you use the hashtag, which for Instagram, we recommend a minimum of 11 because you can use a lot of different hashtags on Instagram, and that's primarily where hashtags started. For Facebook, we recommend a maximum of 3, and they should be your clearest one. So for Hope for the Future, we use hashtag SA Catholic Schools. We use hashtag Hope for the Future. They're key hashtags that relate to our account and to each post that we post. And then for Instagram, you can definitely use a lot more hashtags. You can put hashtags in the comment section as well as in the caption of your photo. But we just advise for everyone to use hashtags because if someone doesn't necessarily follow your account, that is how they can locate you. They locate you through hashtags. So if you have a post on Instagram of students at a carnival and you hashtag, or at let's say a science fair, that might be more relatable, you can do a hashtag Catholic Science Fair. And so audience members who are looking for that, who maybe go to a Catholic school and they're looking for science fair ideas, they might use that actual hashtag Catholic Science Fair or hashtag Science Fair. And when they see your account through that hashtag, they see, hey, they like your post, they like what you're doing, and they'll follow you. And that's just how you reach people that are outside of the ones who already do follow you. So not only do you reach them, but you also give them an opportunity to follow you if they're interested in what you have to post. So we recommend for you to use hashtags for all of your posts. Another thing that we saw that we wanted to address is punctuation marks don't work in hashtags. So for example, I know a lot of you have seen that we started a social media campaign for Hope for the Future called hashtag I'm a Catholic School Kid. If you've noticed in that hashtag, we don't put I apostrophe am a Catholic school kid, because punctuation marks break the hashtag itself. It has to be continuous letters all the time. There cannot be any punctuation marks, not even a period, because then that breaks your hashtag. So we just want to make y'all aware of that whenever you do. You can use any hashtag that you want for any post, but just even though it is grammatically incorrect to put a punctuation mark in I'm, or to not put a punctuation mark, you still don't put a punctuation mark because it will break your hashtag, and therefore it won't be searchable after that. So yeah, that is something that we just wanted to address that we had seen. Okay. Those were the frequently asked questions that we had. But if you had any other ones from our last presentation, let us know, and we'll definitely address them at the end of this presentation. These are just follow-ups that we had for everyone who attended our last presentation, and for those who are attending now, maybe if you weren't in the last presentation. But we just want to know who runs the social media at your school. So if you have that contact info for that particular person, or if you are that particular person, if you could email us, and you'll find our email addresses right there on the slide. Email us your contact info because we want to follow up with you. If we have any questions or we have any recommendations that we can give you, because we do monitor the school's post, that way we can kind of get an idea of where everyone is at. And that's how sometimes we've seen, punctuation marks and hashtags, and that way we can better give you information and critiques on what you can do better to increase your audience and to just run your social media pages more successfully. So definitely send us your contact info. That way we can stay in touch with you. And, if you ever have any questions that, about social media, you can ask us, or even anything PR related. We're always here to answer those questions. The next one is who sends out your newsletters? So newsletters we find are a really good way for us to keep up to date of what is going on in each school, because there's always so many events going on across all of the Catholic schools. So newsletters better help us give your school's event or maybe an award. We can give that coverage on Hope for the Future. we can kind of highlight that. It just helps us stay aware of what's going on in the schools. So if you could send us the contact info of who does newsletters at your school after the presentation or right now, that would be great. If you could also sign us up for your newsletter as well, or give us a link of where we can sign up for it, then we will go ahead and do that on our own. But we just wanted to address that as well. Okay, is that all that we had for recap? Mm-hmm. Perfect. So Jennifer is going to get started on our next presentation.
Oh, sorry. Actually, I'm going to go over press releases again really shortly with y'all before we start over media alerts. But going back, you can leave that. Going back to what Victoria said about the newsletters. If you don't have a newsletter, that's okay. Our next webinar actually is going to be on newsletters, how you can create online newsletters and the importance of them for your community and for the parents and even for the students. So that will be next month. But really quickly, I just want to recap the press release portion for you all. Maybe y'all forgot some stuff. There might be someone who wasn't on the presentation last month. So just really quickly before we get into media alerts. So press releases, those are short documents that talk about newsworthy items at your school. And so, newsworthy items, this is something maybe like an event announcement. You're about to open up registration for your 5K. That's something you can do a press release about, and you can share what this 5K benefits. If there's, any people that are going to be there, if y'all have a certain goal to make, a certain amount of money you want to make for the 5K, if you have new types of program at your school, maybe you have a new robotics program or you have a new swimming program, something that's newsworthy. Some stuff that isn't newsworthy is, we reach 100% attendance today. That's really not something to send out. Or, we have a new shirt or we've updated our logo. That is not newsworthy. So that's just a little bit of a difference. So, if you do have any events or anything going on at your school that you're thinking to yourself, I don't really know if this is newsworthy or not, feel free to email us and ask us and be like, hey, Jen and Victoria, we have this coming up. Do you think this is something we should send out a press release for? And we will go ahead and, we'll give you your recommendations. You could even send us your press release and we will take a look at it and give you feedback on it. So I'm going to go over the tips we went over on the last presentations really quickly, just so y'all can know. So remember when writing your press releases to have an attention-grabbing headline. So make sure this is something that when the reporter sees in their subject line, they're immediately going to want to click on it and read it. Remember to have your at-a-glance section. So this just highlights the main points of your press release. It should be no more than 3 bullet points. Get to the point in the first paragraph. So if you're hosting some type of thing, if it's a ribbon cutting, if it's a 5K, in the very first paragraph, you should have the who, what, when, where, and why, which essentially is the media alert, but we'll get more into that. But that should always be in your first paragraph and the importance of it. So the fourth one, include hard numbers. So if you're expecting to give a certain, maybe check number out, if there's going to be a certain number of attendance, if there's some type of statistics, make sure you are including those in your press release. Include a quote from a relevant person. So if it's a principal or if you're getting a donation from some type of organization, make sure you have a quote from relevant people. Make it grammatically flawless. So make sure there are no grammar or spelling errors. And include your contact information. Include that they can contact you for more information. 1 page is best, 2 pages max. Remember, reporters aren't going to want to read, a full op-ed, 1,000-word things. Make it very short for them. They are receiving over 300 emails a day of this type of stuff. So just make sure it's short and to the point. And give access to more information. Let them know, hey, if you want more information, you can find it at this website. You can contact me. I can set you up with so-and-so person as an interview. They like that. A lot of times whenever I send out press releases, I will go ahead and let them know kind of before they read it or at the very end, hey, if you want to do an interview, I can set you up with X person. So that is my review of press releases. If you have any further questions about that, like I said, just feel free to let me know. So right now we are going to go into media alert. So why? Let's go next slide. So a quick overview. We're going to touch on what is a media alert, why they work, and then a sample media alert. Okay, so what is a media alert? So this is a different format for PR writing. So it's used to communicate an event to the media. And in advance, we like to send out our media alerts. If we have an event that's happening on a Saturday, we will usually send out the media alert on Friday, the day before, and then also that Saturday morning. And then we will also call the news stations probably an hour to 30 minutes before the event starts, just to make sure if they received it and if they plan on sending someone out. So this gives a quick at-a-glance summary, again, of your event. So this gives the reporters and editors and the producers all the information that they need to decide whether or not to cover the story. So why they work. So media alerts, like I said, they're just the facts of approaching the news, of communicating the news with the audience. So they work best when you have recognized individuals or organizations participating in the event. So press releases, you need to make sure you're going to tell them the who, what, when, where, and why of any event. So this approach is being used by smart publicists all the time. So rather than forcing a journalist to read through the entire press release, if you're just having an event, it kind of just gets straight down to the point, and they know right away whether they want to attend that event or not. So there are three things you want to focus on. So you want to make sure it's attention grabbing. So the first paragraph, make sure it summarizes your event. Identification, make sure you have clear identification of all your event details. So like I said, the who, what, when, where, and why. And value, add some value, like value add that makes it worth their time. So this can be if there's someone that's going to the event that you know will get media there, make sure you include that. If there is going to be good camera opportunities, like students doing something, demonstrating something of that nature, make sure you have that included in your media alert. You know, there's been times, of course, we send media alerts out to reporters as well. And they have gone back to me and they said, thank you so much for this. You know, this is exactly what we're looking for. You just summarized everything and the who, when, where, and why. And this makes our job so much easier. So these are very important to them because, like I said, you have to remember that they receive so many emails every day. And so next, this is a sample media alert, and I'm going to dissect this with you so you can better understand it. So the first line, you're going to want to put your contact information. So this can be your name. I suggest you put your name, your phone number that you can be reached at, and your email address, because if it is decided to be picked up, that photog will be calling you. The next one is you're always going to want to put media alert in the very beginning. Then you're going to put the summary or the title of the event. Next, so this is, like I said, an example. So the first paragraph, make sure it is attention grabbing. So this one says, you know, blank is hosting a panel discussion on the latest trends in social media that will feature 4 of the industry's leading experts on this subject. The free event is open to the public and it's designed to introduce attendees to the latest trends in social media. All attendees will receive a free book on the subject written by blank. So this is very to the point in the first paragraph. It lets them know what's happening. Then after this, you want to put the who, what, when, where, and why. So the what, you want to let them know what is happening. So the 60-minute program will outline the latest trends in social media, followed by interactive Q&A session with the experts. The session will be followed by a networking reception. Like I said, very straight and to the point, what's happening. Who? So this is where you will put the who's going to be there from your event. So, and you can put also with the who, you can put what school it's at, if students are going to be there, if parents are going to be there, you know, if there's going to be someone speaking, who is going to be speaking, and you could also notate there who is going to be available for interviews. So when you want to put the date and then the time here. And also under this win section, if you are having some type of presentation, if it is a ribbon cutting and you are having the presentation start at a certain time, let's say it begins at 10, but the actual presentation won't begin until 10:30, you can notate that there as well. Or if it's a 5K or a gala, but someone specific, someone big is speaking at a certain time, you want to include that in that win section. So this is where you're going to put the event location and the address. And if there's certain parking information or any information that they have to know when it comes to that, be sure to have it there. And the why. So the why is the importance of your event. Why is it happening? What is the event benefiting? So if it's a 5K, the why section would be, this event is taking place to raise funds for a new art studio at our school. This will benefit our students from grades blank to blank. So you really want to include that in your why section. And then after that, you will put your boilerplate. And then that's pretty much your media alert. Like I said, it's very short and to the point, but reporters really value them and they really like them. And like I said with the press releases, if you have an event coming up, draft up a media alert, send it to us. We will review it for you and we will let you know. Also in the Dropbox link, we will send that out again in the follow-up email. There's the media list there. So you can send out your media alerts to all of those news reporters or those media desks. We have the phone numbers there too. So feel free to call them an hour before your event and ask them if they plan on sending someone out. If they can't send someone out, this is a side note that we can discuss more when we get into pitching. But if they can't send someone out, ask them, can we send you pictures and a recap of our event? If they say yes, please do that. Great. More than likely, they will put that in the online section of their news, or they might give it a shout out in their evening news. We have done that several times and that has worked before. So also keep that in mind. So that is our media alert section. Like I said, if you have any questions, let us know. Comment in the chat box. If you don't want to comment in the chat box, feel free to email us and we will address them. And then Victoria is going to go more into social media photography now.
Okay. All right. I'm just going to go ahead and switch presentations because we have them on a different presentation. So you might see my face a little bit really quick. I'm going to pull up our social media photography. Maybe not. I think we got it to work. See something really quick. Okay. So let me just get this set up. Okay, so we are going to talk about social media photography. So the reason why we decided to go over this was we had a few comments about just how to improve social media photography across all platforms. So not just for Instagram, even though as we discussed in the last presentation, Instagram is visual heavy because all you're posting on there are photos and videos. And that's just the primary type of content for Instagram, but also for Facebook too. You use photos for posts, you use photos on graphics. And we had a few questions from our last presentation about what is the best or any tips for social media photography. You know, how do I use my phone to get the best photo? So from this presentation, this is for all types of photography. It speaks to both professional photography as well as photography from a phone platform or from your phone camera. So this is just general photography tips to help you to get the most out of your photos and how to have the best quality photos and the ones that are most engaging that will boost the aesthetic and that will boost the most professional feel out of your social media platforms. So we're going to get started. Okay, so in this particular presentation, our contents, we're going to go over composition, we're going to talk about framing, resolution, lighting, editing, and then applications is just the longer word for apps. So editing apps, things that you can download right onto your phone. That way it just boosts your photos to make them look so much better than if you were to leave them unedited. Okay, so first we're going to go over composition. Composition is the placement or arrangement of visual elements. So if you have a group of students, or you have, and that might just be a general portrait of them smiling at the camera, or it's school supplies and you want to make them look engaging, composition is something, a really good tool that you want to know how to use correctly. That way it makes your photo look a lot more engaging. So composition is just how you place your subject of your photo. So one good rule of thumb is called the rule of thirds. This rule is used by photographers, which are professional photographers or even just photographers who use their cell phone. So the rule of thirds is breaking your image into thirds. You are breaking the image down into 9 parts, vertically and horizontally. So you'll see in this photo right here on the presentation that this person, from their cell phone photo, they have a grid, which most phones do have. I know iPhones do. You can pull up a grid when you're taking up a photo. But if not, it's just something that you can do in your mind, just if you don't have a grid on your phone. So it breaks up your image into 9 parts. And the key point of this rule is to align your subject on each cross point in the image, or on the horizontal lines or the vertical lines. And when you do this, this gives your photo the best feel and makes it look compositionally correct. So you don't have a subject hanging off in the corner, and then you have another one all the way on the other side of the corner, and so it just doesn't look visually appealing. When you use the rule of thirds, it helps for your photo to look more engaging. So the 4 lines also, which the 2 horizontally and the 2 vertically, give you the best place for your photo elements to be placed. The idea is if you have your image set to this composition, it makes it more appealing. But the questions that you should always consider whenever you're using the rule of thirds is, what are the points of interest in this shot? So what do I want to highlight? If there is a student in a garden, you want to highlight the student in the garden. You don't want to be highlighting the tree all the way off in the back corner. You want to be sure that the student picking vegetables or picking out a flower is lined up across one of these points, and that way they're the main subject of the photo. And always think, when you're taking a photo, where am I intentionally placing them? That way they are the key subject of the photo. So that's just a good rule to have in mind. If you have any questions, let us know. But that one is called the rule of thirds. The next one we're going to talk about is framing. So this is when you are taking a photo where your subject is in your frame. It's similar to the rule of thirds, but a little bit different. So 2 tips to have in mind whenever you are thinking about framing in your photo: always stay in frame. One tip that I always think about when I'm taking photos is all or nothing. You never want to have half of a person in the photo where it's only the right side of their face and their right arm, and the left side of their face and their left arm is cropped out in the photo. You want to have all of that person in the photo, or you don't want to have them at all. That way it just looks framed correctly. Position your subjects on the left or on the right. Another rule to think about is headspace or headroom. So that is, if you're taking a portrait of someone, the little bit of blank space, or negative space as some call it, above their head is good, because it kind of gives the viewer an idea of the background of that image, where the student is at. Are they at school? Or are they at a playground? It leaves room for the audience to understand more of the importance of that photo and what's going on in that photo. So that is framing. Positioning a subject right in the center of the photo can be boring and less interesting, so that's why I say position to the left or to the right. And when you're doing that, remember, always have the rule of thirds in mind when you're positioning them. That way they're both at equal distance from the right or to the left. This next one is just breaking down what's called background, middle ground, and foreground. So you'll see in this image, usually you kind of want to, this is what you want to attain in each one of your photos. Sometimes it's realistic, sometimes it's unrealistic. But for photos like this, it just makes it the most visually engaging and the most visually pleasing to the eye. So a background in an image is going to be the absolute last layer in an image where it could be a wall, it could be if students are standing in front of something, it's just the absolute last layer of that image. Middle ground, as you can see in this image, for example, would be the little girl sitting in the background. She's not all the way in the back, and the background is the black wall behind her, but she is the middle ground. She's right in the middle. She's that middle layer of the photo. And then foreground is what is right in front of your face and what is most in focus. So you kind of want to achieve a photo like this every time you take one for social media. Again, like I said, sometimes it's realistic, sometimes it's not. Photos that can achieve this more often than most are photos that have portrait mode. So if some of you have the newer phones that are able to do that, usually that makes it the easiest to achieve this kind of photo. But if you can't, that's totally okay, as long as you have this in mind when you are trying to take a photo. The next one is resolution. Resolution is just a bigger word and a photography term for clarity of an image. So the best tips for resolution and to have the best resolution is to have your subject in focus. Every time you take a photo with the DSLR, which is a professional camera, or with a cell phone, always be sure that your subject is in focus. So on a DSLR, you'll do this by hitting the focus button. On a phone, normally you do this by just tapping the subject on your screen. That brings them in focus so they're not blurry, and that the audience member or the person seeing this photo can clearly see the subject. You want to avoid blur, so try not to move your phone really fast when you're taking a photo. Try to keep it steady. Sometimes people even go as far as studying their breathing. If your phone doesn't really adjust well to your phone moving really fast, and it can have a lot of blur. Some people go as far as doing that, but just always, whatever you can, if you can avoid blur, that's what you want to do. Avoid low light situations. You don't want to take really dark photos because usually you can't see the subject in the photo, or you can't see what you're trying to highlight. For photos that are well lit, you're able to see the subject a lot more. You're able to understand what is going on. And studies have actually shown that the eye actually is more attracted to photos that have more light. And so when the eye sees that, it's drawn to that. So you kind of want to avoid the really dark photos more often than not. Avoid overstretching. Never stretch an image out to where you can actually see the pixels of the image. You always want to kind of keep it in its raw format. Never stretch it out or distort it and make it look unlike the way it originally was taken. And the last tip that I have is to take multiple. Anytime I'm at an event or I'm taking photos of something for a client and I only have my cell phone on me, or even if I have a professional camera on me, I always take multiple photos of whatever it is. If you're taking a portrait of students, take multiples, because sometimes students will close their eyes. They're going to blink and you're going to get a photo where all of them have their eyes closed, or some are smiling and some are not. So you always want to take multiple photos of whatever you're trying to achieve in that photo. And that just gives you a higher chance of getting the perfect photo of either a portrait or something going on at school, whatever you're trying to capture. It just helps you to achieve that. The next topic is lighting. So this is going to be a lot, it's going to be more technical in photography, but it is also relevant to cell phone photography. So ISO, that's a photographer's term for the camera's sensitivity to light. It also complements your shutter speed. So you can actually fix this on some cell phones that I know, even older cell phones, where you're able to adjust the lighting. There might be a slider bar on your phone that you can adjust to make your photo look lighter or to lower the lighting in your photo. But that's your ISO. That's what your camera lens is picking up, and that's where it's attracting the light. So always have an ISO that complements your shutter speed or that complements your photo. Overexposure. This is having too much light in your photo. So one term that you will hear photographers say, or even just anyone say, is your photo looks blown out. You can't really see what's going on in the photo because there's so much light, whether you have direct sunlight hitting your lens, or you have a light bulb hitting your lens or something of that nature, to where you can't really see what's going on in the image because there's so much light and it distorts it. You want to avoid that. You want to hit that really sweet spot in the middle where you have enough lighting to see what's going on, but it's not overly exposed. The next one is underexposure. So it's the exact opposite of overexposure. It's exposing your film or your camera lens to not enough light, so you can't see, again, what's going on. So always keep in mind to hit that really sweet spot right in the middle of having just enough light to actually see what's going on in your image, but never too much to where it distorts what's going on. So the image right there to the left of the gentleman sitting down, you'll notice that is perfect lighting. You can see what's going on, and you can tell in this image, the colors are so vibrant. It just is more attractive to the eye to see those bright colors. So that is another tip to have in your mind when you're taking photos. And then one of our last slides is editing. So consider these. These are just things that I like to consider every time I'm editing a photo, whether that's using professional software or just using editing apps on my phone, which we're going to go over later, because I imagine most of you are using cell phone cameras. And so we want to give you the best apps that we find work for social media photography. So consider your brightness when you're editing. Again, if you don't have that sweet spot of lighting in your image when you take it originally, you can do this in the editing app. You can adjust your brightness or lower your brightness if it's too light. Contrast. This is the definition of the image. So you'll notice when you up a contrast, you see more definition. When you lower your contrast, you see less definition. So whatever you feel makes your photo look best, and kind of just give your eye the ability to judge it. And most people are really good judges of what a photo should look like, or if it shouldn't look that way. They kind of know, okay, it looks too bright. Okay, then adjust your brightness. Or this looks, the photo is too wide. Okay, then crop the image. So kind of let your eye be the best judge of it. Saturation is the brightness of the colors. You want to hit a really good spot, again, like this, like brightness, of having color really vibrant, but not too vibrant. If you up a saturation too much in a photo, especially if there's a person in the photo, you can cause that person to look really orange. It brings out the pigmentation in their skin. So you want to have a really sweet spot of saturation in a photo. Cropping, whatever you can do, try to crop either a tight crop, which is having maybe you have a portrait of 3 people, having them in the middle of the frame, and it's really focused on them, so it's really cropped to their bodies and their faces. That way you can see them. Or have a not so wide crop to where you can actually see the background behind them, whatever you feel works best for that particular photo. But again, when you do crop, of course, consider not cropping someone's body out or cropping their face out. You want to have all or nothing. Clarity is if that's a tool that's available on most apps. Say you took a photo at a football game, and a football player or a student is running, and they're a little blurry, but not overly blurry to where you can still see what the subject is doing, but you want to just clarify it just a little bit. You can use clarity to sharpen an image. So it'll either be clarity or it'll be sharpening. It kind of just varies on each app, but you can do this to help the subject look not so blurry. And then highlights and shadows. Say you're taking a photo and the lighting looks great, but there's just really dark shadows over a student's eyes, and you can't really see their eyes or their shadows and their faces or something that they're holding or doing. You can adjust that in the app, and that is usually under highlights and shadows. So that's where you'll find that whenever you're editing your photo. And then these are applications that we suggest. So these are actual phone apps that we use for photography here in the office. And so these are ones that if you can download them, we recommend it. All of these are free from what I understand. I don't think any of these we've ever had to pay for them. I think it just kind of varies which ones are available on iPhone and Android. I have an Android phone, and I believe I have all of these.
Yeah.
So I think these are still available for all iPhone and Android users. The first one is Visco. That one is probably the one we use the most here in the office. That's why I have it at the top of the list. It's really good about offering all these different capabilities for editing a photo, and it does it correctly. It never looks too much there. Each tool doesn't adjust too much or too little. It's really good about editing a photo. And then they also come with filters as well that we do use. Avery and Snapseed, those are two about the same that you can use. You might prefer some apps over the other because of their different possibilities. But Avery and Snapseed are both two other apps you can download. Instagram has tools for editing in its application. So when you use Instagram, you'll notice you can edit a photo before you post it. Instagram is pretty good, but I don't think they have as many tools as Visco does to edit a photo. So play around with both of them and kind of see, which ones you like better. In phone filters, I use that sometimes on my phone. In my photo library, whenever I pull it up, it gives me the option to edit a photo in phone. Sometimes I'll do that, sometimes I won't. Again, usually phone editing tools are limited to what they can do. And then the last one is a really good one that I found on the internet that a lot of people do use. That's called Filter Storm U. I believe it's rated just as high as Visco. The only reason I didn't put it up there is because I just don't use it that often. Visco is one that we all really use here, and we really like it. So try those out and let us know what you think. If you have any questions about using those particular apps, we'll go in there into the app and use them ourselves if we can't figure it out, and we'll help you as best as we can to get comfortable and understand how to use these applications for your photography. Okay, so that is the presentation on photography. The last one we're going to go over is just a really quick guide on Canva. So Canva is one that we mentioned in our last presentation. This is what we use. You're going to see me for a second. This is what we use to make graphics for social media. And we just want to extend this to y'all. That way you can make them for your own social media pages. So let me go ahead and share this last presentation that we have.
Side note, Canva also allows you to make newsletters and flyers as well. It is kind of like, it looks like it's Photoshop without having to know all the Photoshop how-tos.
Right.
So I like to call it like a dummy version of Photoshop because I do not know Photoshop. I've dabbled with it a little bit, but it is very technical. So Canva is just kind of a platform that gives you this already to do. And it is free. If there's certain templates that you want to download that aren't free, I think the most they are like 99 cents. So it's still not even expensive, but a lot of their templates are free.
Okay. So we have this pulled up. This is a presentation that is actually, we found it online, and we found that this was the best presentation for Canva because it was created by Canva itself, and how to get used to Canva. It's Canva for beginners, and to get you kind of assimilated to this particular platform or software. So again, like Jennifer said, Canva is absolutely free for you to join. It's a website that you visit. It's canva.com, and you can go in and create an account using an email and a password. So you might create a Canva account for your school in general using a school-related email. That way, whoever takes on social media, because you might have managers come in and out for social media, say it's a parent who runs it, but then their student graduates. Well, now they need another parent to take on. If you have a Canva account that's set to a school-related email, you can easily transfer that on over to them and give them the login. That way, you're not sharing any of your personal information. So we're going to get started. Again, if you have any questions, we will put this presentation onto Dropbox, but we'll also give you the link that you can visit it at any time. Okay, so this is how to set up an account. So again, you can sign up for free at canva.com. And you'll see comments there by users, this is the easiest design program in the world. And it really is. We aren't familiar. We know a little bit about graphic design here as far as using Photoshop, which is, probably the most elite tool you can use for graphic design. But it is really complicated, and people go to school to get degrees in graphic design and degrees to use Photoshop. But for those of us who, we don't, understand how to use Photoshop, Canva is the best way to do this that we found. So again, you can either connect with Facebook, which we don't recommend doing that because then you have to share your Facebook login. We recommend just creating an account on your own using a specific email and password. Okay, the next step to get started is to choose a design type. So whenever you first enter into Canva, you're going to have your own landing page and your own design page. So anytime you decide, hey, I need a graphic for something, and they have so many different options on Canva. I mean, there's for every single thing you need. Like Jennifer said, newsletters, flyers, invitations, all things social media. Any type of thing that you could imagine you need, more than likely Canva has it. So you'll see here to start creating a new design. You can click on something for Pinterest related, social media related, presentations. We find we make most of our presentations through Canva. The ones that you saw today for photography and for media alerts, those were all designed on Canva. You can create posters. You can create Facebook cover photos, blog graphics, Twitter headers, anything you would need. You can do that on Canva. So again, when you get started, you'll choose your design type. So whatever you need, say you need a Facebook cover photo, you'll click on that and it'll bring you to the design and editor tool, which will look just like this. So it looks like this person is just creating a simple graphic for social media. They call this the Canva Editor, and here's where you can design your graphic. So you'll see on this page to the left-hand corner, it'll start off with something called layouts. These are already, they're graphic designs that are already pre-made by Canva itself that you can choose to use. So you can click on any of the ones right there on the side and use them. But it will let you know if they're free. When you click on the design in the lower right-hand corner, it'll either say free or it'll have a $sign. So the ones that say free, those are absolutely free for you to use. You can use them as is, or you can kind of use maybe just the photo. You like the photo that's in the graphic design, or you like the typeface, which is the way that the letters look. But say, of course, you want to change out the actual text. You can do that for free and still use the graphic. The ones that have the $sign, usually that does mean that you have to pay for it, and it just varies on how much it will cost you. But it gives you options to use ones that are already made. The next one is to choose, again, a layout on the left-hand side. You can click it or you can drag it onto the white image that you have right there. The next part is to select an image, one that you like, and drag it directly onto the frame. And it'll just snap it right into place. So wherever the image is in the sample design that you chose, if you click another image that you want to replace it with and you drag it directly on top of it, it'll just pop it right back in. You won't have to go in and delete that photo or anything like that. It'll just snap it right in. And so you can use images from Canva itself. They have stock images that are free. Some you have to cost. In this one, you'll see the photo of the blueberries has the $1 mark on there. So that means you do have to pay for that one. But a lot of the other ones are just free that you can use. You can also upload your own images. You'll see on the left-hand side, it says uploads. When you click on that tab, it gives you the option to upload your own photo. So you don't have to use stock images if you don't want to. But it does give you a wide variety of ones that you can use. The next one is if you want plain or a pattern background, you can click on the backgrounds and tab and change the color. So it'll bring up that handy little editing tool right there for you to either change the color of the background or make it less transparent or more transparent, or say you want to flip the image. It gives you that little tool to do so. And you can do that with all elements. So any elements, whether it's text, photo, background, whatever it may be, you're able to do that on Canva through that handy little tool that it comes up with. Even if you say there's a text box that you don't want, you can even delete it using the little trash can icon on that tool. Okay, so once you've designed your image and you've gone through all of the tools and you've uploaded your photo and selected your correct typeface and input your text and change the color, whatever you need to do, and once you're all set, you can go in and publish. So you can click link and publish to the right top of your, or the top right of your screen. Usually we don't publish our graphic designs. We kind of just, we design it and then we download it. But that is where you're going to find to download, which I believe it will tell you. Here it walks you through if you used a particular image or tool or text that you have to pay for. This shows you what it's going to look like before you download your image. It's going to tell you have to purchase the image or the typeface, whatever it may be. And that's only if you use something that cost $1 or it cost money. But if you use free ones, you won't get this message at all. And then you're able to share your graphic to social media. So you're able to design or download it. It'll give you different options and formats for you to download your graphic design. So whether it's a JPEG, a PDF, or PNG, it gives you the options, but it also gives you text on the side. So it'll tell you if you're designing or you're downloading a graphic, it'll give you just like a little tool and say, hey, if you want to print this, this is the best format to use. That way you're never confused, like which format do I need for social media, or which format do I need if I want to print this? Say if it's a newsletter or an invitation, it'll give you it'll explain the different types of formats that you need to use. And then you can start creating your own designs. So that was just the most simplest presentation on how to get started on Canva. If you have any questions about designing one, or you kind of want to walk through designing one, or even get critiques on graphics that you make on your own, you can send us those graphics and we'll give you critiques and say, hey, that looks great, or maybe you shouldn't put as much text, or try using a different photo, or those colors, maybe use something else. We're totally more than happy to give you critiques on those types of designs. Okay, so that is all that we had for that particular presentation. I'm going to go ahead and exit out of this. And again, we're going to put this presentation on the Dropbox account for you to download, as well as the link. Okay, so that was all that we had for today's presentation. If you have any questions at all, which I'm looking at our chat box right now and I don't see any questions yet, you can go ahead and input those into the chat box right now and we'll answer them live. We can check our email to see if anyone has emailed us any questions. I don't know if we've received any, but we can go ahead and answer those as well. We don't see that we have any. Oh, we have one from Gabriel. Do you recommend using a certain number of pictures with a post on Twitter specifically? Twitter, you're only allowed to use 4 images max. You can't upload any more than 4. And in my opinion, if you want to use all 4, that's great. I don't think the number of images necessarily affects engagement or interaction. I think if you can put 4 photos and 4 different photos that kind of really give a different dynamic to your tweet and shows everything that's going on, then I think you should do that. I'm okay with that. Or if you think 1 photo is sufficient enough for that tweet, then I think that's great too. But again, for Twitter, you are allowed to post up to 4 photos per tweet.
Yeah, I think Twitter does 4 photos per tweet, just because if you look at Twitter and it's dynamic, it's more of a conversational type of thing, whereas you're going to see a lot more pictures on Instagram and on Facebook. I believe Instagram lets you put up to 10 now in your little slideshow. And then, of course, on Facebook, you could put however many you want in an album. But I think that's the reason why Twitter does 4, is because they want to try and stick to that platform of just being conversational. But like Victoria said, put 4, and then if you have more, go ahead and start a new tweet and put the remaining of those pictures. And then speaking of pictures, just to let y'all know, I'm sure y'all have seen it over social media, but we have started the I Am a Catholic School Kid campaign. So make sure that you're telling your parents about that. They can go to hopeforfuture.org to download the sign. On the little tabs at the very beginning of the website, you're going to see like the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 section. If you go to the 5th section, there's going to be a little link that says I Am a Catholic School Kid. And if you click on that link, it will bring up the picture for you. And this, we're doing this campaign, social media campaign, just to promote Catholic education, not just in San Antonio, but all over the world. So if you know people that go to Catholic school outside of the United States and they're willing to send you a picture with that sign, that is great. We want everyone and anyone who has attended Catholic school to be a part of this social media campaign. And if you have any questions about it, let us know and we can answer them.
Gabriel, he said, thank you. You're welcome. We're so glad that we can help you and for the tips on Canva. We are not graphic designers at all. And so when it comes to that, just another tip is we just look at other graphics on social media and we say, hey, that looks good. Let's do something similar to that. Not exactly like it, but something that looks similar to that because it looks really good and it gets a lot of engagement. So a lot of that is just observing what other schools are doing, not necessarily Catholic schools, but even just like other public schools or even looking at universities and seeing what they're doing for their graphics to get students more engaged and to get parents more engaged. So a lot of that just comes from observing. But, we know that that's a great tool for y'all to use to get started for graphic design. Let's see if anyone has any other questions. Feel free to ask us. We also, just to let y'all know, if you don't feel comfortable asking your questions on the chat box, that's totally okay if you want to email us your questions and we can give y'all the answers to those through email as well.
And guys, also feel free to email us at any time, not just right after the webinar or, right before it. If you think of a question in 2 weeks, ask us. If you are writing a media alert or a press release in 2 weeks and you want feedback in it, we're here to help you. So just go ahead and always use us as a resource.
Any other questions that y'all might have? Not even specifically related to this presentation, to this particular topic. If it's anything about social media that you have questions about, copy or, how do I get more engagement? How do I respond to other certain comments that you might have? We are more than happy to answer those today. So anything related to PR or social media. Let me check our email one more time to see if we've had any emailed questions. Oh, another thing to share with y'all, if you have any other topics that you're interested in upcoming webinars or anything else that you want us to address and go more in depth about, you can also let us know in the comment section, just tips for future webinars. I think another one that we've decided that we're going to go over is newsletter design. We think we're going to go ahead and walk everyone through, probably on Canva more than likely, how to design the most engaging newsletter for your school and for parents.
Another topic we want to go over with you all in the future is going to be outreach to your alumni. So if you currently have any programs in place that you do to try and reach out to your alumni, if you could email those to us. You don't have to tell them to us right now, but if you could email them just so we know what you're doing. And then we can come up with a plan and tips on how we think it would be best to go about to reach alumni.
Okay. We don't see any other questions coming through, so we're going to go ahead and wrap up the presentation. But again, feel free to email us with any questions or let us know any other future webinar topics that y'all are interested in. And we look forward to the next one. Again, it'll be every first Thursday of the month. So our next one will be in May on that first Thursday, and they're always at 2 p.m.
May 3rd will be the next one.
So May 3rd, it will be the next topic. And so we usually try to send out the reminder and the invite about 2 weeks before, just to be sure that everyone has it on their calendar and they're set to go. But just so you know already ahead of time, if you want to put it on your calendar, you can do so. May 3rd at 2 p.m. So thank you so much, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to all the future webinars.
Bye, guys.
Bye.